Welcome to another deep dive. You guys send in some really cool stuff about TLRs 1 through 10.
TLRs.
Yeah. Toll-like receptors. Looks like you want to get a handle on their structure, how they work, why they even matter. You ready to do this?
Absolutely.
Okay. So imagine our cells are like this fortress, right? With walls, gates, and even internal security checkpoints.
I like where this is going.
So we got these TLRs. Some are like border patrol stationed right on the cell's surface.
Right.
But others are located inside the cell, in these compartments called endosomes.
Kind of like internal affairs.
Exactly.
What's so cool is that each TLR is like specialized
Oh, I see.
to recognize a specific threat. It's like, different guards trained to spot different enemy uniforms.
Not just any random bad guy.
Right. And they're looking for these things called pathogen-associated molecular patterns,
Gee.
or PAMANs for short. PAMPs are like the enemy's signature, a specific molecule or structure that screams, invader.
Okay, got it. So different TLRs, different locations, different targets. But how do they actually recognize these PMPs? What's the mechanism?
It's pretty interesting, actually. TLRs have these unique structures called leucine-rich repeats.
Leucine-rich repeat.
Yeah, think of them as specialized grabbing hands. Each TLR has these hands that are perfectly shaped to bind to its specific PMP.
Like a lock and key.
Spot on. And sometimes two TLRs will even come together forming what's called a dimer to enhance the binding and trigger a stronger immune response.
It's like a two-step verification process then.
Precisely. This whole intricate system ensures a powerful and very targeted immune response. It's tailored to eliminate the specific threat.
Okay, this is all making sense, but I'm ready to get down to specifics. We've got information on TLRs 1 through 10. Where should we start?
Why don't we start with TLR2 and TLR4? They're both stationed on the cell surface, but they have very different specialties.
TLR2 and TLR4. Got it. Let's hear it.
So TLR4 is famous for detecting lipopolysaccharide, or LPS. It's a major component of the outer membrane of certain bacteria.
Okay.
And when TLR4 spots it, bam, alarm bells start ringing.
TLR4 is our LPS specialist then.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's highly sensitive to LPS, which is why it's so important for, defending against certain bacterial infections.
I see.
But there's a catch. Too much TLR4 activation can actually be dangerous.
Hold on. How can a good security system be dangerous?
Well, think about it like this. If the alarm bells are stuck in the on position, the whole system goes haywire, right?
Oh.
In the case of TLR4, excessive activation can lead to a massive inflammatory response.
Like what?
Something called a cytokine storm, which can actually damage the body's own tissues.
So it's like the immune system overreacting.
Precisely.
Yeah.
That's why TLR4 is a key player in conditions like sepsis.
Sepsis.
Yeah, where a bacterial infection triggers a life-threatening immune response. Too much of a good thing, right?
Wow, that's a lot of responsibility for one little receptor. What about TLR2? What's its role in all of this?
TLR2 is more of a generalist. It's not as focused on one specific target like TLR4. TLR2 will often partner up with other TLRs, like TLR1 or TLR6, to broaden its detection range.
Ah, so it's a team player.
Exactly. And together, they're responsible for recognizing a variety of bacterial components, like lipopeptides.
Lipopeptide.
Yeah, they're kind of like the building blocks of bacterial cell walls.
So TLR2 and its partners are like the construction experts of the immune system.
That's a great analogy. And this recognition is crucial for triggering an immune response against those bacteria.
This is fascinating. So we've got TLR4, our LPS specialist, and TLR2, the team player, recognizing those bacterial building blocks. Where do we go from here?
Well, we've explored a couple of the surface guards, but what about the TLRs operating inside the cell?
In the endosomes.
Right, exactly.
Okay, let's head inside. What's waiting for us there?
One of the key players is TLR3. This one is highly specialized. It focuses on detecting double-stranded RNA, or dsRNA.
dsRNA. Doesn't that ring a bell? Isn't that something to do with viruses?
You got it. dsRNA is a molecule that's produced during the replication cycle of many viruses.
So it's like a red flag.
Exactly. Viral infection in progress.
So TLR3 is our internal antiviral defense system, specifically designed to spot those viruses replicating inside our cells.
Exactly. And when TLR3 detects dsRNA, it triggers this whole cascade of signals that ultimately lead to the production of interferon.
Interferon.
Yeah, those are powerful antiviral molecules that help to shut down viral replication and protect neighboring cells.
It's like TLR3 is calling in the antiviral airstrike.
That's a great way to put it. It's a rapid and powerful response designed to contain the viral threat.
Okay, so TLR3 is our dsRNA expert.
Yeah.
What about the other TLRs lurking in those endosomes? What are their specialties?
Well, there are two more key players, TLR7 and TLR9. These are both involved in detecting single-stranded RNA, or ssRNA.
ssRNA, another viral signature, right?
Absolutely. But here's where it gets interesting.
How so?
While both TLR7 and TLR9 detect ssRNA, they have slightly different preferences.
They're both looking for the same type of molecule, but they have their own specific flavors they prefer.
Exactly. TLR7 is particularly good at recognizing ssRNA from viruses like HIV and influenza, while TLR9 is more attuned to detecting certain types of bacterial and viral DNA.
So they're both part of the antiviral defense team, but they have different assignments.
Precisely. And this specialization allows our immune system to mount a more targeted response depending on the specific type of virus or bacteria it's facing.
Wow, this is a lot to take in, but it's incredible how intricate and organized this system is. We've got TLR4, our LPS specialist on the cell surface, TLR2 teaming up with others to detect bacterial building blocks, and TLR3, TLR7, and TLR9 forming our internal antiviral defense force inside the endosomes.
It's amazing how these tiny receptors play such a crucial role in keeping us healthy.
Right.
And there are still a few more TLRs to explore, each with its own unique story to tell.
Well, I'm all ears. Let's meet the rest of the TLR team and see what other secrets they hold. It's remarkable how specific they are.
Right.
And that specificity is all thanks to those leucine-rich repeats, those specialized grabbing hands that are perfectly shaped to bind to their target, those PMPs.
Exactly, and it's not just the shape that matters, it's also their location. Remember how we were talking about TLRs being stationed on the cell surface or inside those endosomes?
Yeah, those strategic locations are key. It's like having guards posted at all the entry points.
Exactly. Let's talk about a couple more that are hanging out on the surface.
Okay.
TLR5 and TLR10.
TLR5 and TLR10, got it. What are their specialties?
Well, TLR5 is our flagellin expert.
Flagellin.
It's specifically designed to detect the protein that makes up those bacterial flagella.
Flagellin.
Yeah, those whip-like structures that help bacteria move around.
Right.
So TLR5 is like the traffic cop of the immune system, spotting those bacteria trying to swim their way into our cells.
So by detecting flagellin, TLR5 can trigger an immune response against a wide range of bacteria that rely on movement to cause infection.
Precisely. It's a clever way to catch those sneaky invaders before they can cause too much trouble. Now, TLR10 is a bit more mysterious. We know it's located on the cell surface, but scientists are still trying to figure out exactly what it recognizes and what its primary function is.
Interesting. So it's like a puzzle waiting to be solved.
Exactly. It's one of the ongoing mysteries in TLR research. I'm sure we'll learn more about its role in the future. Now, let's shift our focus back to the endosomes.
Back inside the cell.
Right.
What other TLRs are in those endosomes?
Yeah, we still need to talk about TLR8. Like TLR7, that's also involved in recognizing single-stranded RNA from viruses.
So another member of the antiviral defense team. But you said TLR7 and TLR9 have different preferences for the types of ssRNA they recognize. Does TLR8 have its own favorites, too?
That's a great question. It's still an area of active research. We know TLR8 is important for recognizing certain viruses, but the full extent of its role in antiviral immunity is still being explored.
So TLR8 is like our undercover agent, still revealing all its secrets to us.
Exactly. And the more we learn about TLR8, the better we'll understand how our immune system combats different viral infections. Now, we've covered all 10 TLRs from their specific targets to their strategic locations on the cell surface or inside endosomes, but recognizing those invaders is just the first step. The real action starts with what happens next, how those TLRs actually trigger an immune response.
Okay, so they've spotted the enemy. Now what? How do they sound the alarm and call in the reinforcements?
Well, that's where things get really fascinating. Each TLR, once it binds to its target PMP, sets off a chain reaction inside the cell, a signaling pathway.
A signaling pathway, so it's like a message being relayed from the lookout tower to the command center.
Exactly. It's a series of molecular interactions that ultimately leads to the activation of genes involved in the immune response.
Break it down for me. What are the key players in this signaling pathway?
The first step involves the recruitment of adapter proteins.
Adapter proteins.
These are molecules that act as intermediaries, connecting the TLR to other signaling molecules further down the line.
Kind of like the messengers that carry the signal from one point to the next.
Exactly. And there are a few key adapter proteins involved in TLR signaling. One of the most important ones is called MyD88.
MyD88, okay. What's its role?
MyD88 is like the central coordinator. It binds to the activated TLR and then recruits other signaling molecules,
Okay.
which ultimately leads to the activation of transcription factors.
Transcription factors. Those are the proteins that control which genes are turned on or off, right?
Exactly. And in this case, the transcription factors activated by TLR signaling are the ones that are responsible for turning on the genes that produce all those important immune molecules we've been talking about.
Right.
Cytokines, chemokines, interferons, all the weapons our immune system needs to fight off those invaders.
So it's like a chain of command. TLR recognizes the threat, recruits MyD88, MyD88 activates transcription factors, and those transcription factors turn on the genes that produce the weapons needed to fight the infection.
That's a perfect summary. It's a beautifully orchestrated cascade of events, and each step amplifies the signal leading to a robust immune response.
Now, you mentioned that MyD88 is involved in the signaling pathways of most TLRs. Does that mean there are some that don't use MyD88?
That's right. TLR3, our double-stranded RNA specialist, actually uses a different adaptor protein called TRUF.
TREF. So TLR3 goes its own way. Why is that?
Well, it turns out that TLR3 needs to activate a slightly different set of genes compared to the other TLRs. Specifically, it's crucial for activating those genes that produce interferons, those powerful antiviral molecules.
Oh, that makes sense. So while most TLRs rely on MyD88 to trigger a more general immune response, TLR3 has its own specialized pathway to specifically fight off viruses.
Exactly. And this specialization allows TLR3 to tailor its response to the specific threat it's detecting.
This is incredible. So we have these two main branches of TLR signaling, the MyD88 pathway used by most TLRs and the TRIFOOD pathway used by TLR3. What's the ultimate goal of these pathways? What are they trying to achieve?
The ultimate goal is to activate those crucial transcription factors that will turn on the genes involved in the immune response. And one of the most important transcription factors in this context is NF-kappa B.
NF-kappa. Now, that's a name I've come across before. It's involved in inflammation.
You got it. NF-kappa B is a master regulator of inflammation, controlling the expression of many genes involved in the inflammatory response. And this inflammatory response is crucial for recruiting immune cells to the site of infection, destroying pathogens, and initiating tissue repair.
So the activation of NF-kappa B is like setting off the alarm bells, calling in the troops, and initiating the battle against the invader.
That's a great analogy. And in addition to NF-kappa, TLR signaling also activates other transcription factors like interferon regulatory factors or IRFs, which are particularly important for antiviral defense.
So it's not just one. TLRs activate a whole team of them, each with its own specific role to play in the immune response.
Exactly. It's a beautifully orchestrated symphony of molecular interactions, all aimed at defending our bodies against those microscopic invaders.
I'm constantly amazed by the complexity and elegance of our immune system.
It really is a marvel of nature, and the more we delve into its intricacies, the more we appreciate its power and precision.
Okay, so we've covered the basics of TLR signaling, the recruitment of adapter proteins, the activation of transcription factors, and the ultimate goal of producing those immune molecules that fight off infections. But I'm curious, are there any ways to modulate TLR signaling? Can we amplify it to boost our immune response or suppress it to dampen inflammation?
That's a great question. It's actually an area of intense research right now. Scientists are exploring ways to both enhance and inhibit TLR signaling for therapeutic purposes.
I can see how that could be incredibly useful. Boosting TLR signaling could help us fight off stubborn infections, while suppressing it could help to control chronic inflammation.
Precisely. And there are already some promising approaches being investigated. For instance, researchers are developing TLR agonists.
TLR agonists.
Yeah, molecules that can bind to and activate specific TLRs. And they do this to boost the immune response against certain pathogens or even cancer cells.
So TLR agonists are like giving our immune system a shot of adrenaline, amplifying its response to the threat.
That's a great way to put it. And on the other hand, scientists are also exploring TLR antagonists.
Antagonists.
Molecules that can block TLR signaling to dampen inflammation in conditions like autoimmune diseases or sepsis.
So they're like the peacekeepers of the immune system.
Exactly, helping to calm things down when the inflammatory response gets out of control.
I see.
And these TLR modulators hold immense potential for developing new therapies for a wide range of diseases.
This is fascinating. So by understanding the intricacies of TLR signaling, we can potentially manipulate it to either boost or suppress our immune response, depending on the therapeutic need.
That's the goal. And the more we learn about these TLR pathways, the more targeted and effective our therapeutic interventions can be.
This deep dive into TLRs has been an incredible journey. We've uncovered the remarkable specificity of these cellular guards, their intricate signaling pathways, and the potential for modulating their activity for therapeutic purposes. But there's still so much more to explore.
You're absolutely right. And in our next episode, we'll delve into the clinical implications of TLRs, exploring their roles in various diseases, and the exciting possibilities of harnessing their power for new therapies and vaccines. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to our deep dive on TLRs. So we've covered how these amazing receptors work, but I'm wondering, what does it all mean for, our health?
That's a great question. See, TLRs are these powerful players in our immune system, but, like anything powerful, things can go wrong.
Okay, so a malfunctioning security system. What kind of problems are we talking about?
Imagine those TLR alarms were always going off, even when there's no real threat. That's what happens in some chronic inflammatory diseases,
Oh,
like rheumatoid arthritis.
right. So in these cases, it's like the immune system is, attacking itself.
Exactly. And TLRs can be a big part of the problem. So, for example, in rheumatoid arthritis, TLRs can mistakenly recognize components of our own joints as foreign. And then that triggers a prolonged inflammatory response that damages the cartilage and bone.
It's like those TLR guards are misidentifying friendly civilians as enemies.
That's a great analogy. And it's not just autoimmune diseases. Chronic inflammation is also implicated in a wide range of other conditions.
Really?
Yeah, from heart disease to even Alzheimer's disease.
Wow. So TLRs are involved in a lot more than just fighting off infections.
Absolutely. And that's why scientists are so interested in figuring out how to modulate TLR signaling.
Right, like boosting it when we need a stronger immune response or suppressing it when inflammation is causing harm. We talked about those TLR agonists and antagonists earlier.
Right, right. Those molecules that can either activate or block TLR signaling, they have huge potential.
I bet.
TLR agonists are already being used in some vaccines to make them more effective at triggering that protective immune response.
Oh.
And there's tons of research exploring their use in cancer therapy.
Where the goal is to kind of boost the immune system's ability to, like, recognize and destroy those tumor cells.
Exactly. So it's like giving our immune system a pep talk.
Yeah, motivating it to fight harder against those specific threats.
Hmm.
What about TLR antagonists?
Well, those are being studied as potential treatments for a bunch of inflammatory and autoimmune diseases. The idea is to dampen down that excessive TLR signaling and calm the immune system down, prevent it from attacking the body's own tissues.
So giving those overzealous TLR guards a break,
Exactly.
allowing the body to kind of heal and restore that balance.
Exactly. And the research is moving so fast, there are clinical trials underway testing TLR antagonists in all sorts of things.
Like lupus.
Inflammatory bowel disease. And the really results are promising.
This is incredible. So by understanding how TLR signaling works, we're not just learning about how our immune system works, but we're opening up these new ways of treating a whole range of diseases.
That's the beauty of scientific discovery, right?
I guess so.
Every new insight into these fundamental mechanisms brings us closer to developing more targeted and effective therapies.
It's amazing to think that these tiny receptors, once just a scientific curiosity, now are at the forefront of medical research. It really could revolutionize how we approach health and disease.
Totally. It's a testament to the power of scientific curiosity and the importance of investing in basic research. Who knows what other amazing discoveries await us as we, continue to explore the fascinating world within our own cells.
Well, that wraps up our deep dive into the world of TLRs. Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey of discovery. Until next time, stay curious.